The Pope has died, and the Vatican cardinals are sending him on his last journey. During the prayer, the Dean of Cardinals, Lawrence, can hardly hold back his tears, because no one expected such a quick loss of the Pope. Lawrence's friend, Cardinal Bellini, says that the Pope most likely had a heart attack. Although Lawrence was on good terms with the Pope, he knew nothing about his deteriorating health. Bellini says that the Pope hid his health problems so as not to give his opponents a reason to raise the issue of his excommunication. The Pope's room is sealed, and the burden of conducting the conclave, the election of the new Pope, falls on Dean Lawrence. 3 weeks later, 103 cardinals from around the world arrive at the Vatican to gather in the Sistine Chapel and elect a new Pope. Although Bellini is excited because most newspapers predict his victory, he is an American liberal who advocates peaceful coexistence with other religions and tolerance for minorities. This is probably what the Church is lacking right now, which is why society supports Bellini. The problem is that Bellini, although a favorite, does not want to become Pope and considers this post a heavy burden that he is not worth. Then Lawrence offers Bellini to give his votes to someone else, but is refused. If Bellini does not claim the post of Pope, some of his votes will go to the Venetian traditionalist Cardinal Tedesco. Bellini cannot allow this because Tedesco threatens to declare war on Islam and roll back the progressive reforms of the last 60 years. Lawrence learns from the Pope's assistant that the last person to visit the Pope was Cardinal Tremblay. At this meeting, the Pope removed Tremblay from the post of cardinal for gross misconduct, for which one is unknown, because the reasons were supposed to be reflected in the official report, which the Pope did not have time to prepare. This news makes Lawrence think, because in the evening, Tremblay will be present at the conclave as one of the favorites for the post. Before lunch, Lawrence learns about the arrival of another archbishop about whom no one knew before. Mexican Vincent Benitez was consecrated cardinal secretly and personally by the Pope himself. Last year, the mission of Mexican Benitez was dangerous because he preached Catholicism in Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan. Lawrence introduces the new cardinal to those present, after which Benitez blesses the meal. This ritual for the cardinals is nothing more than a formality, but Benitez surprises those present with an unusual, penetrating prayer, remembering all the suffering who lack food and water. During lunch, Tedesco agitates Lawrence, expressing his dissatisfaction with the fact that the Vatican has not been run by an Italian for the past 40 years. Tedesco wants to return to old traditions, even the use of Latin, but Lawrence does not give a specific answer. Later, the most influential American cardinals gather in one of the halls to discuss the chances of their colleague Bellini. They distribute who will agitate cardinals from South America and who from North. 1. Bellini says that he does not want to become Pope, but if the majority of cardinals support his views, then they should be clear and transparent. Namely, Bellini supports everything that Tedesco is against. Bellini supports sexual minorities, pluralism of opinions, calls for respect for other faiths, and also would like women to play a more important role in the Vatican. One of his associates advises Bellini, at least, not to insist too much on women. Later, Lawrence asks Tremblay about his removal from the cardinalate, but he denies it and believes that the Pope's assistant has misunderstood everything. In his opening speech, Lawrence recalls the words of St. Paul, the grace of the Church in the diversity of views and opinions. Lawrence also believes that certainty is a sin and the main enemy of unity. Certainty is the absence of doubt and mystery, and therefore faith. The Dean begs the higher powers that the next Holy Pope will be a man who doubts, a sinner who constantly strives to become better, that he, like other believers, will beg for forgiveness and carry his cross. Although Lawrence's welcoming speech did not imply agitation, it still inspired 5 cardinals to vote for him. In the first round, the liberal Bellini would have taken a leading position, but Lawrence's speech split the electorate, even with similar views. The most votes, 21, were received by Nigerian Edemi, and the next round of voting will be held tomorrow. The post of Pope can be taken by a cardinal who receives 67% votes, that is, at least 72 votes. Later, the Pope's assistant informs Lawrence that he checked Benitez's biography He really served in extremely dangerous places and even asked the Holy Father for excommunication due to health reasons. But the Pope convinced the Cardinal to continue serving. Lawrence instructs the assistant to find out more about what exactly is ailing the Mexican. The assistant also spoke with a witness to the last meeting of the Pope and Tremblay, but did not learn anything new. The witness seemed intimidated, and this circumstance does not give Lawrence an exact answer whether Tremblay was dismissed or not. In the evening, an upset Bellini asks Lawrence not to play with ambitions and unite the liberals to bypass Tedesco. Lawrence assures that he spoke his opening speech from the heart and did not want to disturb Bellini. The temporary leadership is for Ademi, but his views are close to Tedesco, so the support of the Nigerian from the liberals will not solve the problem. The next day, Ademi maintains a lead of 34 votes. Benitez continues to vote for Lawrence, but Benitez suddenly finds 2 followers. The third round of voting is immediately announced, and Ademi receives 52 votes, Lawrence 5, and Benitez 4. During the lunch break, one of the sisters throws a tray near the table, where Ademi is sitting, after which the Cardinal gets up and leaves the hall. Lawrence does not think this is a coincidence, so later he finds the woman and finds out the real reason for what happened. After that, he comes to Ademi and tells the Cardinal that he knows his secret. Ademi makes excuses. He was indeed close to this sister, but it was 30 years ago when they were both young. Lawrence notes that only the sister was young, but Ademi was already 30. Ademi quotes Lawrence's opening speech about the new pope being a sinner who will bear his cross. Lawrence feels sorry, but Ademi's cross is too big because his relationship with the young sister led to a pregnancy, and all these years the Cardinal ignored the existence of his own son. The incident with the tray did not pass without a trace. Soon everyone learns the truth about Ademi, and by the 5th vote only 8 people support him. Now Tremblay is in the lead. He has 40 votes and Benitez 6. Bellini was supported by only 12 followers, and later he suggests his supporters withdraw his candidacy and vote for the careerist and power-hungry Tremblay. Lawrence does not agree, because this will no longer be a conclave, but the election of the lesser of 2 evils. But for Bellini the most important thing is to prevent the traditionalist Tedesco from entering the Vatican, even at this cost. Lawrence is sure that the sister from Nigeria ended up in the Vatican not by chance, and learns from her older sister that the order for the transfer was signed by Tremblay, but he rejects the accusations of meanness and says that it was the will of the Pope. Lawrence is irritated because he will no longer find out the truth from the late Pope, and Tremblay, as an experienced schemer, will again get away with it. Lawrence wants to achieve justice, so with no other choice, he breaks the seal and enters the Holy Father's room to find evidence or clues that will help establish the truth. In the headboard of the bed, Lawrence discovers a cache of bank statements which prove that Tremblay bought the votes of several cardinals. Lawrence goes to his friend Bellini and asks him to continue the fight, because after the publication of this compromising material, Tremblay's rating will inevitably decrease. Bellini refuses and suggests that Lawrence return the papers to their place or destroy them. According to Bellini, not only Tremblay will lose his reputation, but also the entire church, which has already been shaken by various scandals in recent years. This will play into Tedesco's hands, because he will lead the unrest among the cardinals, rally the disbelievers, take the post of pope, and begin to cancel the reforms, returning the church back to the Middle Ages. Lawrence is upset and confused by such a reaction from Bellini. Lawrence is always for the truth, whatever it may be worth, because he still believes that he came here to serve God and not the church and its officials. Bellini asks Lawrence not to be so naive and says that he will continue to support Tremblay. 5 times Lawrence voted for his friend, but only now it became clear to him that Bellini lacked courage and therefore is not worthy of the Holy See. Before dinner, the cardinals received photocopies of bank statements, after which Tremblay declared that this was slander and the money were transferred to good causes. The elder sister intervened in the man's argument, confirming that it was on Tremblay's instructions that a woman who had embarrassed Ademi by her appearance was transferred from Nigeria to the Vatican. Ademi calls Tremblay Judas, and the other cardinals agreed. Later, Bellini apologized to Lawrence for yesterday's conversation. Many people liked Lawrence's firmness and his justice, so Bellini suggested that his friend continue the own fight against Tedesco. Lawrence would be supported by his American colleagues, because, apart from him, there are no favorites among the liberals left. Unexpectedly, during the vote, an explosive device detonates near the Sistine Chapel, breaking a window, and shards of glass fall on the heads of the cardinals. Later, Lawrence reads the news about a series of terrorist attacks in Munich and Rome. A car bomb detonated, and several unknown people blew themselves up in crowded places, which led to the death of 52 people and about 100 injuries. Tedesco claims that these consequences were caused by a soft and tolerant attitude towards other religions. In his opinion, tolerance towards Islam generates explosions, chaos and violence. Instead of building churches, the Vatican approved the placement of mosques and synagogues. Foreigners come to Italy, live on this land, but do not want to integrate and change. Tedesco believes that the Vatican needs a pope who will finally recognize the religious war and begin to restore order on his land. Most support Tedesco in this endeavor. When suddenly the Mexican Benitez turns to him, he asks, what does Tedesco know about war? Benitez served in dangerous regions, saw the deaths of both Catholics and Muslims, and does not understand. What can be righteous in this? If war is declared, who will the Vatican fight against? Against those people who explode themselves in the streets. There are none among the parishioners. Benitez believes that every cardinal must first of all wage a struggle within himself, not let evil penetrate the heart, instead of dividing people into own and others. Benitez is at the conclave for the first time, and he is saddened by how much everyone here is concerned with issues of elections, power and strength. None of the above has anything to do with the church. Benitez believes that the church is not about traditions and a look into the past. The church is what we have to create tomorrow. There is absolute silence in the hall. Benitez gets the required 72 votes and accepts the post of His Holiness. An hour before the announcement of the new pope to the world, an extremely excited assistant approaches Lawrence. He says that he learned about Benitez's treatment in Geneva, only it was not a hospital, but a clinic, and he refused the surgery. When Lawrence hears what the clinic specializes in, he can barely keep from panicking. He rushes to Benitez and demands to explain what exactly the Mexican is sick with and why he refused the surgery. Benitez admits that he is intersexual because his body has both male and female sexual characteristics. Benitez grew up in a seminary and did not even suspect that he might be different from other young men. Only at the age of 30, when he had his appendix removed, he learned from doctors that his chromosomes define him as a woman. But Benitez identifies himself as a man. He wanted to remove the female part of himself, but at the last moment he changed his mind, because correcting God's work could be an even bigger sin than leaving everything as it is. Lawrence wanted a pope with a doubt in his heart, a little sinful, but noble, and the world got him. White smoke rises from the chimney, and soon a new pope, Saint Innocent, appears on the balcony.